So this deal is better for Israel? It's still a bad deal, but is it better for Israel or better for the Palestinians or better for the Hamas?
All I can say is right now it's better for Hamas. It's better for Hamas. And one of the things that I wrote in the Free Press deal is this is the price we pay for the failure of October 7th. We all understood there was a price to be paid. We weren't getting away from this for free. And by the way, we're just at the beginning of paying the price because there has to be a national introspection and a comeuppance. The people who are responsible for the failures of October 7th are going to have to bear that responsibility.
How do you define Israel's failure of October 7th?
The army didn't show up. We didn't predict it. 252 Israelis were dragged in captivity because the army didn't show up, because the army didn't predict. There was, for what we know, there was a meeting of high-ranking officers at 3 o'clock in the morning of October 7th, and no one even declared a state of emergency. There were helicopters that were supposed to be in the air. They weren't in the air. They're multiple failures. They are serial failures. And they're conceptual failures. And I was in government and I was witness to the conceptual failures. The conceptual failures were that Hamas could be paid off. The Hamas wasn't interested in a frontal confrontation with the state of Israel. You pay them off with Qatari money. You let 20,000 Palestinian workers into Gaza, into Israel, and you give Hamas something to lose. That was the conception. The conception also was that Hamas wasn't logistically, militarily capable of mounting an October 7th type invasion. Hezbollah was. So all of our intelligence prowess was aimed at Hezbollah. We knew everything about Hezbollah. We knew where Hassan Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, we knew where he was having lunch on Tuesday and where he was having lunch on Wednesday and what he was having for lunch. We did not know anything about Hamas. We didn't invest in it. We just thought, you dismissed them. They're a bunch of Keystone terrorists. And all wrong. Okay, so there's a price to be paid for that miscalculation, but there's also cases of simple negligence, like very severe negligence. And officers who couldn't be reached on the phone. We don't know yet. There hasn't been that investigation. Now, the IDF is investigating itself, but there hasn't been a state investigation. And Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government want a governmental investigation and not a state intervention. I don't think the people of Israel agree to that. We're going to have to heal. There's a tremendous healing process here. And that can only begin with a serious investigation of what went wrong on October 7th. And it will look at the officers, look at the politicians in this way and say, if they come out and say, listen, we failed you. We failed you. I'm taking the personal responsibility for this. I'm going to resign. Some Israelis say it shouldn't end there, that should actually end in court-martials and people should do prison time for this.
Israelis.
I hear it all.
Israeli officials.
Yes. No, not officials. Israeli citizens are saying. My daughter was killed because of this negligence.
But the
I'm not
Israeli
happy for this guy just losing his job. I want him to lose his freedom.
But they're saying that the Israeli officials should be tried.
I hear this often. It's not every. I don't know how widespread it is, but I hear it often. And you can understand. If you had a daughter and you have children who were serving along that border that day and never received an order to be on alert, or when they called in and said there's a break to the gate and the army doesn't show up, and then later these terrorists came in and raped them and eviscerated them and burnt their bodies beyond recognition, you might be seeking a little bit of justice for your daughter, right? Not just someone loses their job and goes to work for a defense company. So this is it's very visceral what I'm saying, very rough.
Yeah,
it's true, but we have to go through this process. We're at the beginning of this, Marissa. We're not even at the beginning of the end.
And it's been a year and a half.